Hey guys, so today I wanted to go over one of the most important functions of Path of Building for your character and upgrading your character. And that is to find upgrades for your equipment through Path of Building and linking that to the trade site so you can actually find items on the trade site. Now, this has been a topic that has been covered by other creators in Path of Exile 1, such as like Subtractor, for example, and he goes into complete depth about this video. But I figured there's probably a lot of people who might not be able to find that because they're not looking for Path of Exile 1 videos and looking for Path of Exile 2. So I figured I'd make this video for those of you guys who are looking specifically for Path of Exile 2 videos. Now, the big difference between my video and his video is probably going to be that mine just isn't going to go in super depth. It really is going to be a quick and dirty option for you guys who are kind of TikTok brain, like me, and want something quick and easy to learn how to do this. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, well, I already know what I need to do to upgrade my skills. I just need plus fizz damage, plus crit damage, plus projectile levels, plus crit chance, attack speed, right? Well, that is true. But do you know what's going to be better for you? Is it going to be 0.5% crit chance, or is 20% crit damage going to be better for you? Or maybe it's going to be 10% attack speed or +1 projectile skills. Which one is going to give you the most damage and bang for your buck? And for that, I will rely on this program here to help me out because it's just way easier, and that way I don't have to learn it, right? That's what this is going to be for. One thing you'll notice is I have all of my items on here and my tree is all put in, and you're going to need to do this for your character. And that's a one-time thing, right? You don't have to keep doing this every single time. Unfortunately, unlike in Path of Exile 1, you can't just directly import your character from the game. You will have to manually do this yourself. So that's going to be a setup that you're going to need to do. One thing that I will let you know is that for the items, you might think that you need to input everything manually, but no, it's actually pretty easy. All you need to do is go in game, look at your item, right? Hover over it, Control C to copy, and then you can go into Path of Building. In this item menu, Control V, and it'll give you that item and you just add to build. So no need to manually input anything. Now, after you have that all set up with your skills, your tree, and item, that's where we go into this button right here. Trade for these items. This will allow you to find upgrades for your character that you might not have ever thought of. And, this is a good way for you to find things cheaply and efficiently. Now, when we press this button, it pops up this whole menu right here where, weapon 1, weapon 2, weapon 3, or what helmet, body, gloves, things like that, right? So this is to help you find, like when you click on one of these, find the best upgrade for you. There is a little bit of setup for this though, and that's in this adjust search weights option. Now, by default, it'll have full DPS at 1 and effective hit pool at 0.5. Now, effective hit pool is just EHP, so survivability. If you're looking for an upgrade for a weapon, this is probably not super important, so let's pull that down. Now, full DPS is usually the one I'd say most people are going to be going for because in Path of Exile 2, the damage scaling isn't very complicated. Like, for example, bleed DPS, ignite DPS, all those pretty much just go off of basically how strong your initial hit is anyways. So you're probably just going to be going into full DPS. And one thing I will let you know is that if you're going to look for full DPS, you will want to go to your main skill and click include full DPS to be able to actually search for an item. Now that we have that done, let's say we wanted to look for something like full DPS, right? And all we need to do is put this at 1 weight because that's all we're looking for. That's going to include the hit and all the damage over time modifiers. And actually, one thing I did want to mention is that if you want to go into like poison DPS, for example, I think all the damage over time modifiers are not very good for searching in Path of Exile 2 right now. When I tried looking for poison DPS, it just returned back to me poison hit chance on the trade website. So I'd say even if you're looking to maximize your things like poison DPS, ignite DPS, just go for the full DPS one because, like I said, in this game, a bigger hit leads to a bigger ailment damage anyways. So full DPS, 4 damage. Let's click save, and then we can go and try to find the best upgrade for our weapon. When we do that, you can leave all these as basic default because personally, I think any edits further than this are probably better done on the Path of Exile search website anyways. So you do that, and then it'll give you a link. And then when you press Control click on it, it'll open up a separate PoE trade website menu. Now, it's going to show you, basically sorted by the price right now. But let's before that hop into this menu right here. Now, this is going to be a weighted sum of all of these attributes, and certain attributes will have a higher weight versus others which will have lower. The lower ones usually mean that they're going to be giving you less damage than another one. So most of the time, you're going to be just unchecking the ones that are lower. And also, you kind of have an idea about how your build functions, so you can kind of take a look at like what you think will add the most damage to your build at the end of the day. So you can go and unclick the ones that you don't think are very relevant. For example, for my build, I don't really care about attack speed, even though it does add to the overall damage and DPS of the build. I just really care about the initial hit. And like I said, we're doing poison build, right? And it's going to add this chance to poison on hit. I don't know why it does that, but we're just going to take that off because it messes with the calculation. So you're going to go uncheck all the things that you think are kind of irrelevant or don't really add that much to it. And they're going to keep the ones that do work for you. Then you're going to click search again, and it's going to pull up a list of weapons. Now, there's this thing right here that says sum, because that number, the higher it is, at least according to path of building, that's going to give you a better DPS. So you're going to want to sort by that. So when you click sort, it pulls up the largest one, of course. And this is, at least numerically, going to be the one that gives you the highest increase to your damage. Now, it's not always going to be an increase to your damage, because maybe you just have something that's really, really good that the trade website doesn't really have like much available for, or the person isn't online, right? But in order for you to figure out whether or not it's an upgrade, you can actually do that and check that before you buy it. So all you need to do is go and take this, for starting from here, highlight all of it, Control C to copy, then you go back to POB, Control V, and that'll enter it into this layout. Now, you see it's not going to be perfect, so you will have to edit it a little bit. Here's the 24 crit down bonus, which is going to be from the sockets. Personally, you can edit it to just, be just perfect, but I personally like for sockets just getting rid of that one and then just adding the 2 right here. It's easier for me to do. So we're going to do that, add to the build. And then now you're going to see for me, right? Right now, my poison DPS is 214,729 for damage while poisons, right? So let's replace that weapon and see what happens. So we go to this horror volley. And as you can see here, that increased our poison DPS by about 30,000. So that weapon is going to be an increase to our damage. Now, sometimes it might be an increase, sometimes it might not be. But for the most part, if you're doing this correctly, you will have stuff that'll increase your damage. But sometimes you might want certain stats. Like, for example, we look at, let's see, maybe it's like we always want one additional additional arrow, for example, right, for our weapon, because all these don't have additional projectiles. Well, you can go here and click the and stat group or add stat group and click and then you could say something like bow attacks fire additional arrows as a requirement. Then that'll rejigger that whole thing, and then you can again sort by sum, and then you'll find that here is the best one. Now, one mirror is definitely over my price budget, so we can go and set a maximum of, let's say, I don't know, my budget is 10 divine, right? So we'll set a max budget of 10 divine. Then it'll again do the whole calculation over for you, and then you can find your item that you want for under 10 divine. I've seen this item before. I tried to put it on my thing, and unfortunately, it is not a damage upgrade for me, which is unfortunate. But, you guys might be able to find an upgrade for you through this. So that's how you would look for a weapon, and basically how you look for anything. You can also do things with armor. For example, if you want to go back to here, create for these items, you can adjust weights for like I said earlier, effective HP, right? And then you could also do like energy shield, adding more weights for different things like that, right? So you can do all these things to basically fine tune and tailor the type of search that you want through this program. Now, one other example I wanted to go through, and this is going to be an important one, and not just important for using this, but also important for just using trade in general, is going to be looking for items that have a lot of items like in the market, right? So let's say jewels. There's a ton of jewels in the market. So for me, again, I'm going to reset this. We're going to do full DPS. We're not really going to care about effective hit pool. And then we're going to go do this for my magma barrier character. So I'm going to want to replace, let's say, socket number 3, right? Bramble shard or something like that. So we're going to do that, execute, and then it's going to pull up again the mods for this. You're going to control click this again, and it's going to pull up another POB. We're going to do the same thing again. Take a look at these. Are there any of these that we don't really care about? For example, again, attack speed. I don't think that's going to give us a ton, even though it calculates as a lot. For us, we know that our build doesn't use attack speed, right? So this one's a fairly straightforward one. There's not too many things they're going to do here. But when we click search, you're going to notice there's 10,000 plus matches. So at some point, the trade website doesn't actually pull anything up after this. So what you're going to want to do is narrow down your results by a little bit. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to sort by sum, and you're going to see like, okay, well, this one starts at 98, right? So let's go down a little bit. Maybe we're not going to look at anything over 90 sum. So let's do that. Let's change the weighted sum minimum to 90. And that way, nothing below 90 sum will show up. And you're going to see the choices are going to be narrowed by a ton. But you're going to see also that you're going to get other results that you weren't getting before. Like, for example, this one was 119 sum, whereas before I think the highest we were getting was like 89 or 90 something. That's because after a certain number, the Path of Exile 2 trade website just won't be able to pick up on those things. It won't be able to search. It only has a limited number of search pool. So this is something that's going to be useful for this, but also when you're searching for items in general that have a lot of results. You're going to be missing up on certain things and certain items if you don't do this and filter correctly. So now we can see that this is going to be the biggest increase in damage for us. And again, you can, do a filter of like what you want for price, or maybe it's like, okay, I only want critical damage for attacks, and then I'm going to add that as an and stat group. That's how you're going to go and search for items on Path of Exile. And again, you can do the same thing, go in here, copy, right? And then you can paste it into POB right here, and then change this to rare jewel, and then boom, and then you can add it to your build and compare and contrast the differences. So that way you can go and figure out what is good, what is not, and see if you can, it's an upgrade to your character before you buy it. So there we go, guys. Hopefully this video was helpful. And if you appreciate this content and want to see more, let me know down in the comment section below, as well as hitting the sub button. That's the best way to support the channel, and it's completely free. And I also stream every single night on twitch.tv/MisoXShiru, so I'd love to see you guys there. But if not, hopefully I see y'all on the next video. All right, guys, peace.